Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV in the house like kitchen sinks. Before I get into this afternoon story, if you will, y'all jump in the comment section. Let me know where you're chiming in from. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. Let me know your city, your state, your hood, your set, whatever it may be that you're representing. And let us know if you're the man or the woman that you say you be. You know, oftentimes, man, I tell these penitentiary stories, and I don't think a lot of people realize the true dynamics and the politics of actually spending time in prison. You have a whole lot of, I'm not going to necessarily say a whole lot of various channels, but you have some channels that the person doing the interviewing has absolutely no clue about doing time in prison. So they'll bring on guests, people that have been locked up, and they'll tell their stories. Some people find themselves fascinated by prison. Don't know why. But some people are very, very intrigued about spending time in the penitentiary. Situation that took place, it was 4 young men. Now, this was pre-prison, obviously. They were going to cop some weed. They go to the individual's house to cop the weed. And somehow them buying weed turned into a robbery that was never, ever supposed to take place. Once the robbery occurred, the people, you know, these dudes supposed to be street dudes. You see what I'm saying? You're supposed to be a street dude. You hold court in the street. If you're doing illegal activities, you don't call the police. That wasn't the case. Ended up calling the cops on the dude. I don't understand how you call the cops and say, hey, man, he robbed me for my weed. But whatever the case may be, they called the cops on the dudes. All 4 suspects were apprehended. They go to court. They're going back and forth or whatever. State of Kentucky don't have any bail bondsmen. A robbery, that's going to be a very, very high bond. No 10% or anything unless the judge grants you 10%. I speak about that all the time. Come on, Kens, we already know that, but a lot of people don't know that. So just rock with me. So they're in the jail, county jail, fighting the case for like a year. Nobody says a word. Nobody turns on the other person or what have you. And they end up going to trial. When they go to trial, okay, when they go to trial, it ends up being like a mistrial. Hung jury. Jury's hung. What does the prosecution do? Turn around and re-indict. They're not letting these guys get away with that very easily. So now they're rearrested. They have to go through the scenario all over again. This time they end up taking a plea deal. Now there's some significance in this case because you had one dude named Leroy. He's the only black dude in the crew. Leroy's about 6'2", had to have been about 220, 225. Caramel complected dude. He was really like a quiet dude. Didn't bother anybody. Had his group of friends. Yeah, he was a black dude, but his choice of friends or the individuals that he hung around with were primarily white dudes. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm just painting a picture for you all so you can. It's always that one black dude that's in the crowd of the white dudes. And that was Leroy, but Leroy was cool. He was well respected. Like I said, he didn't bother nobody. And he just, he had a problem. He had a problem with one of the individuals because one of the individuals, white boy Ferg, he was the one that set the robbery off. Hit dude in the head with a, with the pistol, split him. That wasn't supposed to be what transpired, what took place. So we had a serious problem with this individual. Well, I'm not going to testify against you. I'm not going to tell on you. White boy Ferg couldn't come across and say, yeah, I robbed him because he already had a prior, so they would have knocked him upside the head. So instead of, telling the people that Leroy had nothing to do with it, he remained quiet. Leroy had love for white boy Ferg. They all grew up together. At the time, they were probably in their mid-20s, 24, 25 years old. Been knowing each other, hanging with each other since adolescence. So it wasn't that type of beef that he had with him. particular situation occurs. Leroy is at his sibling's house. Things get they go left. The police is called. The police comes over. Totally unrelated to this separate charge. See, once they got re-indicted, they were able to get a bond. The first time they just had to sit in there. The second time they were able to get a bond. So he's out on bond. While he's out on bond, like I said, the police come over. You had an officer, most of the officers were cool, but then you always got an overzealous officer. He's running his mouth or whatever. The next thing you know, Leroy splits the officer. I'm talking about splits him, man. They spraying him with mace, man. They doing everything they can do to hold this dude back, man. And this dude is just a maniac. And I'm sitting there and I'm seeing this. Like, I'm actually, seeing this. Like, literally watching. It's taking 4 or 5 officers. He picks one of the officers up. Boom, slams him. When he slams him, the officer, I can see he busts his knee, lands on his knee. Now somebody has you up, he kind of caught the fall, the slam, and he busts his knee on the concrete. So now he has 2 violent charges pending. And his bond automatically is going to get revoked because they're going to take him to jail for assault on a police officer. 2 pending cases. When it was all said and done, he ended up pleading guilty, and they gave him 13 years total. Both sentences, he ended up with 13 years. 13-year sentence is non-violent, even though it was violent, but the plea deal, it was amended down, so it was assault on a police officer and second-degree robbery, non-violent. So he would have to do just under 3 years before he's seen the parole board. He still has a major problem with White Boy Ferg. White Boy Ferg, they called him White Boy Ferg because he was one of those individuals, he could rap. He had tattoos, on his body or whatever. He could cut hair, and I don't know why they called him White Boy Ferg. They just called him White Boy Ferg. He had a couple golds in his mouth or whatever. He's on a prison yard. He gets to the Jake. It's 4 of them, but none of them go to the same prison. See, that's the thing about the prison system. You never know where they're going to send you at. Once you go to the Rotary Farm, which is the assessment center, and you get classified and they do your mental and physical evaluation and things of that nature, then once you're there for a couple months, 3-4 months or whatever, they're going to send you to one of the many prisons in the state of Kentucky. There's so many different prisons that they have. The odds of 2 of you all being in the same prison is not necessarily slim to none, but the likelihood of it happening is not very high, at least off top. Y'all rock with me. White Boy Ferg hits the yard. He knows some people. He's known in the streets or whatever. Plus, he's a barber. See, when you're a barber in prison, you get a whole lot of leeway. You get a whole lot of, not necessarily passes, because you might not do anything to deserve a pass, but everybody's cool with the barber. Nobody really has a problem with the barber. Why? Because you got to get your hair cut. There's only so many barbers in prison. Only one issue, though. They threw them in a room. They had cells. 2-man cells. They don't have the 1-man cells. They have 2-man cells. They throw them in a room or in a cell with probably one of the most notorious booty bandits in the prison system, man. Hard Hands Lonnie. Hard Hands Lonnie. Not Hard Hand Lonnie. Not Hard Head Lonnie. Hard Hands Lonnie. Lonnie was a white dude. Had to have weighed about 260. He's about 6'2", 6'1". Had a big old stomach. But he was athletic. Now, I know it may sound kind of hold on, kids. Dude had a big old stomach, so he would play basketball, and you couldn't get around him because he would guard you with his stomach. So it would just bump you with your stomach, and it would knock you backwards. You'd be like, come on, bro. But nobody ever tried. He had black hair, had tattoos on his face. Had a couple on his face, not too many. A couple teardrops and tattoos on him. He had been in and out of the prison system pretty much all of his life. At this particular time, Hard Hands Lonnie was probably, I don't know, maybe 35, 36. In and out of prison his entire life, mainly in. And he got his nickname, it's self-explanatory, man. His hands was hard and he would knock you straight out. One punch, one hit or quitter. He was one of those type of individuals. Was known for he got high on the streets. A lot of people liked him though. If he was clean, he was cool. But once he got to getting high and he ain't had no money, man, he gonna rob the dope man. You never knew when it was coming because a lot of times he would have money. So you built up a trust, but then that time that he didn't have no money, he gonna rob you with his bare hands. Man, he didn't care if you had a gun, you better use it. That's how bad he wanted to get high. Like I said, known for robbing the D-boys, man, just with his hands. Give me his. He never really caught that major sentence in life as far as, 20 to life or... Now, don't get me wrong. Any time that you do in prison is a long time. But you got individuals that's never, ever going home or they're going to do 30, 40, 50 years before they go. He would go and do stretches 4, 5, 6 years at a time. And I'm not undermining that whatsoever. I'm just simply painting a picture. When he hit that prison yard, everybody knew him. Everybody, and he was instantly respected. But the man was a booty bandit. And if he liked you, it wasn't gonna be no rap. Depending on how much he liked you, he might ask you. But if you wasn't with it, guess what? He's gonna knock you out. Literally knock you out. And take you. Everybody knew it. But the man was so respected on the yard, man. See, just because you might have a little zestiness to you, don't mean that you are soft. It don't mean that you can't use these. Don't mean that you don't have a heart. It's just your preference. That's what you prefer. Now, why I definitely don't condone taking anybody's innermost. Can't just be going around taking people's innermost. Sometimes they just have be in prison. Prison is a dog-eat-dog world. It's not like out here on the streets. You can't go to the police. You can't just, especially back then. See, now they have what's called PREA, P-R-E-A, Prison Grape Elimination Act. So basically, you pick up the phone, and if you have a problem or you feel as though somebody's, being over zesty or overzealous towards you, or you're fearful, or somebody's gonna try to take your goods, you get on the phone and you act as though you're talking to somebody, but really you're reporting this situation. But back in the 70s and 80s and 90s and early 2000s, when I first started going to prison, early 2000s, they didn't have PREA. They didn't have any of those things. So if somebody took you, if you go and tell, now you're a rat. I would imagine you'd get a pass for that, because you can't just be taking people. But nevertheless, it still had to be proven. Hard thing to prove unless the police just really, really walked in on that. This dude, man, nobody wanted to be in the cell with him. Would you want to be in the cell? Y'all jump in the comment section, let me know. Would you want to be in the cell with 6'2", 260, I'd say about 260 pound booty bandit named Hard Hands Lonnie, that's been in and out of prison his whole life, mainly in, well respected on the yard? What are you gonna do? White boy Ferg, he was about 6 foot, 6'1". He had black hair, he had the tats on his face. Like I said, he wasn't a soft looking type individual. That doesn't always mean anything either. Can't judge a book by its cover. But I'm simply saying, you're gonna think twice about running up on white boy Ferg. He, 220, 230 himself. Hard Hands Lonnie, that didn't mean nothing to him. They threw him in the cell with him. Hard Hands Lonnie, I'm gonna just call him Lonnie, because I get tired of saying Hard Hands. Y'all know who I'm referring to when I say Lonnie. Lonnie wasn't one of the types that, he wasn't a full-time booty bandit. It was just when he was in the mood, when he was in that mode, when he was in that mind frame. He might go several months without doing anything. And next thing you know, you see somebody lay down on the ground, Lonnie done got him. That's just what it was. Now, obviously, white boy Ferg, he's heard all about Melanie. He's heard all about, the tactics and the things that he's done. So he's instantly trying to get out of the room. Just the problem is you can't just get out of a prison room or a prison cell simply because you want to. You have to, let's just say you're trying to go and room with your homeboy. Well, your homeboy, Shelly, has to be willing to sign a waiver and do what's called a swap. Get swapped out. Well, obviously, nobody's trying to go in the cell with this dude. And it's crazy because he's probably one of the nicest booty bandits I've ever met. The dude is just laid back. And again, I don't condone what he does, but I'm just saying you wouldn't even know. That's basically what I'm trying to say. You wouldn't even notice this dude was a booty bandit. You look at him and be like, okay, I probably don't want to fool with this dude. You can just tell by his demeanor, but he wasn't like a bully. He was a jokester. He wasn't racist. He kicked it with the white boys. He kicked it with the black dudes. Matter of fact, I seen him probably kicking it with more black dudes. He was just a well-respected dude. Time goes on. I said about a month or so goes past. White boy Lonnie, he's starting to become alarmed. He always, kept his head on a swivel, but remember, he's a barber. He's spending most of his days in the barbershop, then he's going to the yard. He's spending as little amount of time in the cell as he possibly can. See, the thing about a cell in prison, man, the cell period, you're going to get locked down at certain times. There's a certain point that your cell, you're going to be locked in for, depends on what time the yard shuts down. Let's just say you got to be in your cell by 11 o'clock. Maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on the late night, but 11 o'clock on a regular night. You're going to be in your cell probably until 6 o'clock in the morning till the yard opens for breakfast. You're in there stuck with an individual, man. And in this particular situation, an individual that's 6'2", 260. Y'all rock with me. White boy Lonnie, white boy Ferg, he started to recognize there were certain things that he would come in and Lonnie done went, drunk some of his coffee or ate some of his peanut butter. Noticeable difference, in his bags of chips or whatever the size, it was started up right here, but then it would be right here when he came in. He's feeling chumped. He's feeling played. He's feeling like, man, this dude, man, is really trying me. What do I do? Weighing my options. What do I do? He decides he's going to get him a knife. The thing about a knife, you get caught with a knife, man, that's outside charges potentially, and you're going to be in the hole forever. But about my manhood, about my respect, about my safety, is just the chance that I'm going to have to take. Can't just walk around with a knife on the yard. A lot of times when people have knives, they have well hidden, hiding spots. Although the two hadn't really had any friction or anything, he knows that eventually it's going to hit the fan because this dude is taking my commissary just little by little. Oh, when white boy Ferg would be eating something, man, let me get some of that. Soft pressing him. Man, let me get some of them potatoes, man. Piece of this chicken, man. That cool? I'm going to grab a couple of these beef hot dogs. That straight? What do? You locked in a cell with an individual. You could say no. But guess what? He going to beat you down. May violate you and he going to take it anyway. Well, come on, kids. He just have to show me, man. I'm going to die about mine. Yeah, all that stuff is easy to say. It's easy to say until you're in that situation or unless you've been in that situation. Don't make you no chump. Don't make you no punk. But you have to really, really evaluate the situation very, very closely and be strategic about it. Yeah, you getting back. You don't allow it. But you do it in a manner in which it makes sense. He's plotting and planning I'm gonna get this dude, man. Now, so far, Lonnie ain't came on to him in any sort of sexual manner whatsoever. Like I said, he's just soft pressing him, about his food and his commissary. Grey Goose arrives. Grey Goose is a prison bus. Once a week, sometimes twice, but for the most part, it depends on what prison you're at. Prison's a revolving door, so anytime you might have a day to where 15, 20 people make parole or serve out all on the same day. They leave out, guess what? The Grey Goose is coming in that same day, filling those beds up. Prison is a business. Locking people up is a business. Yeah, you got some people that need to be in prison, but prison is full of individuals that probably don't even need to be in prison. Not to say that they're innocent, but stealing and stealing is not good. Credit card fraud, that's not good. Checks, that's not good. Child support, that's not good. But when you start to give people 12 and 15 years for those offenses, it becomes a little the system is overbearing. Nevertheless, that's just the way that it is. That's just the way it is. Things ain't never gonna change. It's just what it's gonna be. Grey Goose comes in. Lo and behold, you got Leroy and one of their other partners. I don't even remember his name. They get off the Grey Goose. Now, while Ferg is happy because it don't take long to see or to hear about, man, such and such is on the yard, man, especially if you have any sort of notoriety or name on the streets or whatever. Ferg knows that him and Leroy are not seeing eye to eye, but this is my childhood friend, man. Surely we can work this out. They run across each other on the yard after a couple days. It's a big yard, so you might not even see each other in this shit. They run across each other on the yard. They get to talking. They spin the block, man. Hit the loop. Yeah, hit the loop. In the penitentiary is a big old track. It's always a big track. And you just see people just walking, and you might see people jogging, people walking a little bit, push-ups, walking a little bit, burpees, walking a little bit, And then in the middle, they got grass. Call that Peter Beach, man. You got, it's what it is, man. You got dudes, man, laying out trying to get a sun, so they got their little shorts on or whatever, and they laying on their stomach, laying on their back or whatever. They trying to get a suntan. In prison, they call that Peter Beach, man. Take it for what it's worth. Oh, man, prison is such a different world. So they spinning the block. White boy Ferg, he got the coffee. It don't matter if it's 80 degrees, 85 degrees, man. You got your coffee mugs. Some people drink their coffee straight black. Some people drink the triples. Triples is your coffee, your sugar, and your creamer. You might want to do a quad and throw some cocoa in it, some hot cocoa in there. That's a little much for me. Whatever the case may be, man, they spinning the block, they chopping it up, they're ironing out their differences. White boy Ferg just missed his partners, man. He was so happy to see his partners on a yard. A familiar face is the best, man. There's nothing good about prison, but when you see a familiar face, no, you're not happy that this person is in prison. Don't get it misconstrued. But it's nothing like seeing a familiar face. I'm talking about a familiar face of somebody that you know and rocked with on the streets, man. They got to kicking it. White boy Ferg, he never even really mentioned the situation as far as what was going on in the cell with Lonnie, Hard Hands Lonnie. He already knew that Leroy wasn't playing with a full deck when it came to once he got upset, once he got mad. Like I said, he was laid back, but you upset the man and, ain't no telling what he's gonna do, man. What Ray say in life when they was at the table in the chow hall, ain't no telling what I do. I might stab you, kick you, but I wish his spoon was sharp. I stab a motherfucker right now. You never knew what Leroy was capable of doing. You knew what he was capable of doing, but you never knew exactly what he might do, man. Word travels. Got back to Leroy as far as the situation that was going on. He already had a knife. but he just didn't have it in the cell because he didn't feel comfortable enough to, where can I put this at? Where can I keep this knife at? Because when I have this knife, I don't want Lonnie to know that I have this knife. I can keep it on me at all times, but when people come in and do a random shakedown, which they do on a regular basis, I don't really want to get caught with a knife. But at the same time, I don't really want this dude to attack me one night and I don't have anything to protect myself. Got a lock and a sock, but I mean, it's such a small space like that, that's gonna be hard. But you know, he did what he could do to protect himself. That dreaded night hit the fan, man. That night, dude, to where white boy Lonnie, I keep saying like white boy Lonnie. Let's rewind. Manual rewind. White boy Ferg knew was going to take place. It took place to a certain extent. Prison is one of those places to where you're never really happy, but you can have some good days in there because you know it is what it is. So you're in there. Certain days, certain moments, they fly by. Sometimes you get some bad news. Sometimes you're just down. Sometimes you're just tired of being around hard ankles, just seeing dudes all the time, hearing the same rap, COs getting on your nerves. People from the streets is not really rocking with you. Like, it gets very, very, you have some down times, a lot of down times in prison, man. He's in the cell one night and he's fixing his food. Money's getting a little funny. Meaning that his people didn't send the bread as they typically do. So now he's kind of having to stretch what he has. Lonnie done went in his box. So you have a locker and you have a box. He done went in his box and grabbed some, I don't know, tuna pouches or something like that. Damn, bro, you just gonna just keep going in my stuff like that? I mean, this has been going on for a minute. I ain't really said nothing because, you know, we sellies or whatever, so I eat, you eat, and I hope that it would be the same way, you know, vice versa, but it doesn't seem to be that way because you don't never offer me nothing. This is how he's talking to Hard Hands Lonnie. You get your money that comes in, man, you don't never offer me nothing when you cooking, but you keep going in, like, eating my stuff, bruh. Just because I'm a barber. Because, see, Lonnie's people would send him money, and then when you're a barber, you charge the inmates for a haircut. You're not supposed to, but they do it anyway. Okay, well, I need $3. I need $4, $5 for a cut. All right, well, you know, you give them a store list what you want from the store, and they bring, okay, give me 2 bags of them motherfucking jalapeno cheese puffs, or give me a book of stamps, or give me 4 tuna pouches, 3 tuna pouches, you know, and that's how you conduct business. That's commerce in prison, commissary. So white boy Furs, his locker would stay stacked in addition to the money that his people send. He really would try to stack that money and just try to live off the land. He was a cold barber. White people's hair, black people's hair, whatever. So he made so much money from cutting hair, he didn't really even have to spend his money. Not like that anyway. He just keep taking my stuff, bro. Like, damn, I'm in penitentiary too. I ain't no chump. I heard about you. I know your reputation. I know you know, but you're not going to just keep taking my stuff, bro. So we got a problem? This is what, in my guesstimation, this is what Hard Hands Lonnie had been waiting on. We got a problem? Yeah, we got a problem, man. You keep taking my stuff, man. And I'm not with it, man. Quit going in my box. Hard Hands Lonnie never wore a shirt. You walk around on the prison yard. Well, now, you know, there's certain times you have to be in uniform, or certain places you can't just walk around with no shirt. But like on the rec yard, or walking the track, or when he's in the dorm, or when he's in the what I think in the dorm you're supposed to wear a shirt, but it depends on the officer. But when he's in the cell, he never wore a shirt, man. I don't even know what the significance was of me saying that, but he never wore a shirt. He wasn't happy at that moment. Hard Hands Lonnie, he's ready to go. It's the moment that he had been waiting on. White boy Ferg, he wasn't gonna back down. He knew he didn't have no win, but I got to show this big son bitch, man. He got a knife, but it's not in the cell. So it don't help him that it's buried on the yard somewhere. It's not in the cell. He always stayed locked and loaded, meaning that he keep a can of soup, chili, or whatever in a sock or his lock or something. He would keep it accessible right under his mat or right on the edge of his mat. Now, you can't do that all day long because that's deemed as a weapon. So when he would come into the cell, he would always put it in his sock and stay locked and loaded. Once the yard opened back up, it wasn't no problems. He'd take it out of his sock or whatever and go on about his business. They square up, man. What's up then? They don't necessarily square up, but he sees that Hard Hands Lonnie was, he know what's coming. He slept on the top bunk. Hard Hands Lonnie was on the bottom bunk. He reaches up. I guess he tries to do it in a sneak tip or discreetly, and grabs that can of chili like, yeah, what's up? But it's in a sock. Yeah, what's up? You thought it was going to be sweet? You thought it was going to be easy? What's up? Hard Hands and Lonnie, he's laughing at the shit. Come on. Come on. Come on. White boy Ferg goes to swing. And when he swings, Lonnie puts his arm up like this. He got some big arms. Like, he's a big dude. He blocks it. So when he blocks it, the sock wraps around his forearm. When it wraps around his forearm, he's not letting go of the sock. Boom! Steals on him. When it hits him, he don't go to sleep. But what it does is it thrusts him back into the wall. Like, boom! He hits the wall. When he hits the wall, there's an intercom in every cell. It has a button on it. He hits the intercom. CO, is everything okay in there? What's going on? CO hears the tussling, but nothing is said. CO comes up probably, because he's way downstairs. This is like on the upper tier. So he comes downstairs. Well, he comes upstairs to the cell. It's probably about 2 minutes later. Now, the cells have doors. They're not, when I say doors, like an actual door, like with a doorknob. You have a key to your cell. But there's a little strip. It's like a little window strip in which you can see out of the cell and people can see into the cell. I would imagine. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Lonnie was about to do his thing. He was going to put him to sleep, knock him out, choke him out, whatever he had to do, and take his manhood. You youngsters, man, that like the Rocky's Dracos. I hope y'all listening. It'll never be me. Yeah, it definitely can be you. CO comes up. He's looking in the cell. He comes in the cell. They got a master key to everybody's door or whatever. Caesar's, been a little tussle. Can't really prove it's been a tussle, but he can see that things have kind of been moved around in the room a little bit. Ferg was dazed. CO visibly knows that something's going on. Nah, I'm cool. Ain't nothing going on. You sure y'all hit the intercom? Ah, man, I accidentally hit it. No problem. So they play it off as though nothing happened. Ferg in his mind was thinking, man, if I had my knife, I'd stab his son bitch right when he goes to sleep. The rest of the night, throughout the night or whatever, he didn't go to sleep. Nothing happened the rest of the night. I'm figuring that Hard Hands Lonnie knew, okay, police, they already watching us or whatever. I'm not gonna get him tonight. This is not the night to get him. Plus, little homie got a little heart, man. He stood up to me, he got a little heart. Nah. It ain't all sweet with white boy Ferg. White boy Ferg's gonna get him. The next night he's gonna bring that knife. This is his plans. I'm gonna bring that knife. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna act like nothing even happened. And when he goes to sleep, it's night, Irene. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. You're going to sleep. That forever sleep, though. Because I know you're going to try to take mine. And you're not getting these cheeks, man. And if you get them, I'm not going out without a fight, a major fight. Next day, he's on the yard. Now his face, his eye done, he got hit in the kind of like right in here, so his eyes purple and black. Typically, dudes don't even really go out on the yard when their face is that way. But he had to work. Now, when he caught him, he kind of caught him like right here, so it was just like, it wasn't just total, you could kind of justify that or whatever. It wasn't just shut, cut. Now, Rocky's eye was, and Rocky, and the early Rocky 1, Rocky 2, when he was getting the shit beat out of him. And Mick, kid, I gotta stop the fight. You can't see, he's killing you out there. I gotta stop the fight. Nah, his eye wasn't looking like Rocky's eye. No, Mick, cut me, Mick, cut me. Rocky, cut me, Mick. Just cut his eye and drain it and whatever they do and make his eye right and put some Vaseline on it and send me back out to cut me, Mick. Y'all rock with me, man. Good old orange juice. I just drank mine in a cup, respectfully. I'm about to do this son bitch in, man. I'm gonna get him before he gets me. He's telling Leroy they spinning the block, walking the loop. He did what? Nah, bro, I got this. I don't even want you to get involved. No, fuck that. Now, bros be when we get up. Say, fuck that. Lonnie liked to play, like I say, he would play basketball. He was active. He just had a big belly. He's on the handball court. Love to play handball. For y'all that don't know, handball in penitentiary is a very, very popular sport, activity, game, whatever you want to deem it as. He walks over to the handball court. He already knew where he was at because, see, when you spin in the block on that loop, you see everything that's going on as far as people's on the basketball court. You might have 2-3 basketball courts, 2-3 handball courts, weight pile, Peter Beach. You see the tables where people's playing dominoes, chess, gambling, playing poker. You see everything. You see the guards tower. They got the guns. You see all of that. Leroy didn't give a fuck. Nuck if you buck. Nuck if you buck. That's how he felt, but he kept his composure. They walk over to the handball court. White boy Ferg's right there. He ain't run. He ain't go nowhere. He walks right up. And when I say he, I'm referring to Leroy. He walks right up in the middle of a game. In the middle of them playing handball. Walks right up to Hard Hands Lonnie. Boom! Body rocked him. When I say body rocked, put him to sleep, man. Hit him with a... Actually, I didn't tell the story. He hit him, boom! And then he came back with a left, boom! And that's what really put him to sleep. Really, he was asleep the first time. On the second punch, it just solidified everything. Body rocked him, man. Went straight to sleep. Plus, when he went to sleep, he hit his head on the concrete. Slept that man. Kicked him a couple times. Woke him back up. You ever put your hands on my partner again, man, you gonna get this every time. You ever put your hands on my partner again, this is what you gonna get every time. If you ever put your hands on my motherfucking partner again, this is what you gonna get every time. Dr. Umar says if you repeat something 3 times, then it sticks out in a person's mind. Respectfully. Whatever the case may be, that's what it was. The cameras didn't catch it. There's blind spots in prison, man. Yeah, you got officers in the guards tower, but the area is so big, you can't see every single thing that goes on. Well, he ended up having to go to medical because he was messed around, man. Hard Hands Lonnie had to go to medical. He got a concussion. Had to have stitches. His head was split. And his jaw was broke. Completely shattered. Word spread quickly on the yard, man. Leroy knocked out Hard Hands Lonnie. He's in medical. He's messed up so bad to where they got to take him to like the hospital. They got to take him to the infirmary's not gonna get it. He goes to the local university hospital, which means they got the airlifting. The helicopter comes in, fly him out. Leroy got the juice on the yard now, but he didn't want the juice. It wasn't even about that. That wasn't what this was about. This was about my friend, man. It's about forgiveness. It's about, an individual that I came up with, and you think you're going to do this to him? Nah, bro. Ain't going to be no talking. He ain't sucker punch him or nothing. Just walk right up to him. Ain't going to be no talking or nothing. No talking. You always got rats on the yard. You always got people that's going to tell, trying to get their sentences reduced, trying to get in good with the warden or whatever. Leroy's name started to surface around the yard. They throw him in the hole. They're investigating him and interrogating him. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. They put him in the hole for like a week. He's under investigation. He never says anything. Nobody says anything. I mean, you got some people that said something, but nobody could really definitively prove it. Even though he was zesty, don't mean you're not a gangster. Even though he was dead wrong, even though he had a reputation of knocking people out and taking their action. Hard Hands Lonnie, he didn't even say nothing, man. I told y'all, man, I failed, man. I failed. That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it's my story. I'm sticking to it. They had to let Leroy out the hole and turn him and his partner. They end up being able to move into the room together. And to this day, Leroy's doing just fine. He had a 10-year sentence. He kept getting in fights. Out of that 10, like on a 10-year sentence, especially back then, you come home in 6 years, he did like 8.5. Because he kept getting in fights, and anytime you get in a fight, you lose your good time, and you go to the hole, and he did 8.5 years on a 10-year sentence. And he had somebody that really, really took interest in him, because every time he would fight somebody, he would just crush him I'm talking about demolish them, man. Every time he would just demolish them. This is probably the hardest dude. Pause, double pause. Matter of fact, that just don't sit right with me. Let's manually rewind it. This is probably the toughest dude that I ever seen in prison. As far as an individual not using a weapon or anything like that, just with straight hands. Leroy, I know him. I'm somewhat a part of the family. I'm gonna just leave it at that because I'll just leave it at that. This dude, man, would just destroy dudes. And the thing about it, he never talks about it. He never brags about it. Other people talk about it. I can't even get him on my channel right now because he doesn't really like talking about these things. He doesn't want to go backwards. He feels as though talking about prison takes him backwards. But I did tell him I would tell the story. I just agreed with him that I wouldn't use his actual name. But if you've been in the penitentiary system, I'm not saying if you've been in it because you may not have been there, but some people will hear this and know exactly who I'm speaking of. Like I said, he had an individual that took interest in him, and he came home and he started fighting or training. Even became pro as an MMA fighter. I guess the only thing about it is when he came home, he did so much time. He's like 35 now. By the time he turned pro, and 35, 36 years old. It took him a little bit to turn pro. A lot of those guys been doing this since childhood, early teenage years, and you just now really starting to get trained. And you got hands, but them dudes know how to take you down and martial arts and all of these things, wrestling, and so you still a tough, brawling type dude, kind of like remind me of Kimbo Slice. He's a tough dude, but when it came to MMA, like it's kind of hard because you started so late, and this is no disrespect to anybody. He did that for a few years, and then he just hung it up, and he has his own business now, HVAC and plumbing, and seems to be doing well for himself. He's had a couple kids, ain't been back to the penitentiary, hadn't been in trouble prior to that anyway. He wasn't a dude that got in trouble anyway. It was just one bad situation. It cost him 8.5 years of his life. And I'm going to tell you the crazy scenario is that in Lexington, they have something downtown every Thursday. It's kind of like 4th Street Live or whatever. You come downtown, they got like the booth set up. You got bars, strips of bars, and it's just a cool environment. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Leroy. And this is years later. I'm sitting there talking to Leroy, and lo and behold, Hard Hands Lonnie walks up, man. And he's walking through, I'm an American. Now, I'm not saying that he was, Hulk Hogan's theme song. I'm not saying that he was singing that song, but that's just the demeanor that he had when he walked through. Still got this big belly. What's up, brother? This crazy son of a bitch right here. I remember you, by God. Talking to Leroy, but he's laughing, and this son of a bitch is crazy. Talked for a couple minutes, kept it moving, man. So about a year after that, I don't even know if it was quite a year, I got another partner that was married. Well, they weren't married, but they had like 5 kids together, 4 or 5 kids together. But my other partner was kicking it with Lonnie's daughter. They may have been married, whatever the case may be. I was talking to him, and I never even heard about this, but Hard Hands Lonnie ended up getting murked in the streets, man. See, he had turned his whole life around. He wasn't doing those things anymore. He wasn't robbing. I'm not saying he was going to church every week either. But I'm just saying, man, just because you go to church every week, that don't mean anything. But it was just for lack of better phrases. He wasn't doing those things. He wasn't getting high anymore. He was working. He was turning his life around. Hadn't been back to prison. Hadn't been to jail. Hadn't been in trouble in a long time. But see, the thing about the streets are very, very unforgiving. Y'all remember the movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer? Well, that's how the streets are. I remember what you did to me 13 years ago when somebody gunned him down like a dog in the streets for something that had happened allegedly way before the transformation. Several messages that you can take from this story. But I guess the major message is what I always preach, man. Stay out of prison, man. And stay out of the streets. Because the two intertwined are the same. There's no love in that. None. Absolutely none, man. As far as Ferg, I don't really know. I didn't know Ferg like that. But as far as I know, he's out. Hasn't been back. Hopefully you youngsters listening to me, man. Totally different ball game in the penitentiary. Man, I done been to the joint. Nigga, you ain't telling me nothing. Yeah, but sometimes, man, them feds step in. And although this wasn't a federal case, but when them feds step in, man, see the state, for you all that don't know, you catch a state case, you're going to be within this state. So you're going to know people. When them feds come in, they send you to Seattle. They send you to Philly. Oh, yeah. The city of brotherly love. It's not so much brotherly love in them penitentiaries, in federal penitentiaries. When they send you to California somewhere, you're not going to see these friendly and familiar faces. So what do you do then? Freedom, man, is a gift. It's a gift. I understand things in life don't always go as we want them to go. I totally get it. Sometimes we got to play the cards that we dealt. Oftentimes we got to play the cards that we dealt. But it's better to play the cards that we dealt out here in this free world, opposed to playing the cards that we dealt in the penitentiary. Man, Real Kens TV. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the channel. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that post notification so anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive.